He was leaning over the railing of the iron bridge, staring down at the glassy black water. It looked paralyzingly cold. George wondered how long a man could stay alive in it. He leaned farther over the railing. "I wouldn't do that if I were you," a quiet voice beside him said. George turned resentfully to a little man he had never seen before. He was stout, well past middle age, and his round cheeks were pink in the winter air. "Wouldn't do what?" George asked sullenly. "What you were thinking of doing." "How do you know what I was thinking?" "Oh, we make it our business to know a lot of things," the stranger said easily. "Hello, once again, I'm Don Jackson on that same bridge with George Bailey and a strange little character by the name of Clarence." An excerpt from a beloved Christmas classic that proves that even with everything that's wrong in this world today, it's still a wonderful life, as long as we never stop believing in angels. Rose looked up. To her amazement, there stood an angel. She wasn't any taller than Rose herself, with blonde hair and a halo that was tilted just a little bit. Everything about her had a soft glow, unlike anything Rose had ever seen. An excerpt from The Snow Angel by Debbie Boone. Which brings me to this, a quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson concerning a lesser-known quality of snow. He wrote, "The frolic architecture of snow." You know, nature is pretty good at adding swirls and other designs to the falling snow. Of all the designs the wind makes as it howls around the eaves, nothing is more graceful than a pristine snowfield glittering like diamonds, or one perfect snow angel that looks like it was meant to be there, part of the natural design of the falling snow. Many years back, almost too many to count at this point, when the snow lay deep and in drifts around our house, I was known to go out and build a snow fort. Now, this was when my children were very young. They enjoyed my efforts at building a fort for them, but they were just as happy to fall back into the snow and make a little magic of their own. They found, just like we did, that you need an untouched patch of snow, preferably just after it falls, in order to gain the utmost effect. You need a friend standing just off to the side, ready to help you up, so that your snow angel looks like it is part of the natural snowscape. There must have been someone who made the very first snow angel. I wonder who it was. I would think a child, or someone with the ageless heart of a child. Do it just once, and it is something you'll never forget, just like riding a bike. Remember the first time you demonstrated the technique of making snow angels to your children? They probably spent the rest of their time outdoors trying to get theirs just right. You ended the day with angels all over the yard, facing in every direction. It's when we discover one solitary angel in an otherwise unbroken expanse of snow that we wonder at the natural beauty of such a simple design. The wonderful thing about it is this: you're never too old to make snow angels, never too old to pass the magic along to a new generation. Here is another tale from the 1984 Avon Calendar of Roses, It is a legend of the Christmas rose. And I quote, "The three wise men were ancient astrologers seeking to unravel the mystery of the future through the movement of the stars, planets, and other heavenly bodies. The star that blazed in the east was the sign for which they had long awaited, and hurriedly they packed precious gold, valuable frankincense, and fragrant myrrh as presents for the king they expected to find. As they drew near to Bethlehem, they stopped and asked a young shepherdess if she could direct them to the stable, then wept because she had no gift to offer the wonderful new king. A passing angel saw her tears, and suddenly where they had fallen, a rose sprang up, glistening white against the parched hillside. The little girl quickly gathered the blossoms and ran after the wise men. When she shyly presented her miraculous gift to the Christ child, he smiled, and the petals of the roses turned pink." End quote. The very famous writing declares, "And the desert shall rejoice and blossom as the rose." This is called The Angel Tree, written by Marlene L. King, and featured in the collection Chocolate for a Lover's Heart, edited and compiled by K. Allenbaugh. This is a story that anyone who's ever had to move to a new city, especially at this time of the year, will identify with. She writes, and I quote, "For John and me, moving to a new city a few months before Christmas added to the inevitable strains and peccadillos that characterize new relationships. Without family and good friends nearby, it wouldn't be easy getting through the holiday season. Recovering from a miserable head cold, I felt irritable and began to question my decision to move. Nothing seemed right in my world yet. I decided to make the best of it to lessen the tension between us. I suggested we go out and get our Christmas tree. In my former marriage, I knew what was expected, comfortable in the protocol of rules that comes with established traditions. But not so in this relationship. Challenge, surprise, and intensity both bound and alienated our equally fiery spirits. We stopped at a small tree lot next to our local neighborhood gas station. Standing in the frigid air, I noticed the few strands of lights strung around its perimeter were missing half their bulbs. We didn't see anyone else looking at the few remaining trees. Feeling negative and sullen about the whole situation, I turned to leave when the attendant jumped from the cab of his pickup truck, smiling broadly and extending his hand to us with holiday greetings. His clothes were dirty and shabby. Several teeth were missing, and I thought he looked more like a criminal than a tree lot attendant. I felt apprehensive, and John refused to catch my look. So I decided to head back to the car alone. I sloshed in the rain through wet sawdust and onto what I thought was pavement, but the reflection of rainwater, coated with ice, hid the deep hole that caught me off guard. As I stepped down and into the disguised hole, I twisted my ankle. Freezing, angry, and now hurt, I began to cry. I felt a warm hand helping me out of the circle of broken ice, and an aura of even greater warmth emanating from the lot attendant intent on rescuing me. He offered me a styrofoam cup of hot coffee and proceeded to fuss and assure me that everything would be all right. The attendant went to the back of his truck and produced the most beautiful and perfect noble fir tree I had ever seen. Beaming brightly, he said we could have it, his gift to us. "It's a special tree," he said. I hope it will make your first Christmas together memorable. Against the attendant's protest, John insisted on paying him and stuck a $20 bill into his tattered shirt pocket. We thanked him, and he told us how glad he had been that we had stopped by. He hoped we would have a beautiful holiday and that my ankle would mend quickly. His genuine happiness from within, no matter his appearance or lot in life, was contagious. We felt soothed and blessed by his presence. We loaded the tree into the van and headed home, feeling strangely peaceful with a new benevolence between us. We couldn't stop talking about our experience and what a wonderful man we had just met. John and I made up our minds to be sure and go back to the same lot the next year. And after a hot bath and some rest, my world looked a lot brighter. We were so grateful and touched by this experience that John and I decided to get a fruit basket for this kind soul and drop it off on our way home from work the next evening. When we pulled up to the intersection where our gas station is, we didn't see the tree lot. In fact, we questioned whether we had the right street or not, but there's just one local station in our neighborhood, and this was it. We stopped and asked the gas station employees what happened to the man who had the tree lot next to them. To our surprise, no one recalled ever seeing a tree lot. We noticed that the lights, hole, and puddle were gone, with no trace of sawdust or greenery boughs anywhere. To think we slipped into time and out of it again seemed eerie and wondrous all at once. Did we see a tree lot attendant, or an angel who blessed and amazed us with the very spirit of Christmas? We never saw the lot or the man again, but the magic of that evening has glowed for 20 years, especially when we retell it as part of our own family holiday tradition. End quote. Marlene L. King's The Angel Tree. This is a letter written by Giovanni Giocondo, dated Christmas Eve, 1513, to his friend, the Countess Alagia Aldo Brandeschi. I am your friend, and my love for you goes deep. There is nothing I can give you which you have not got, but there is much that while I cannot give it, you can take. No heaven can come to us unless our hearts find rest in today. Take heaven. No peace lies in the future which is not hidden in this present little instant. Take peace. The gloom of the world is but a shadow. Behind it, yet within our reach, is joy. There is radiance and glory in the darkness, could we but see. And to see, we have only to look. I beseech you to look. Life is so generous a giver, but we, judging its gifts by the covering, cast them away as ugly, or heavy, or hard. Remove the covering, and you will find beneath it a living splendor, woven of love by wisdom with power. Welcome it. Grasp it. Touch the angel's hand that brings it to you. Everything we call a trial, a sorrow, or a duty, believe me, that angel's hand is there. The gift is there, and the wonder of an overshadowing presence. Our joys, too, be not content with them as joys. They, too, conceal diviner gifts. Life is so full of meaning and purpose beneath its covering that you will find earth but cloaks your heaven. Courage, then, to claim it. That is all. But courage you have, and the knowledge that we are all pilgrims together, wending through unknown country, home. And so, at this time, I greet you, not quite as the world sends greetings, but with profound esteem, and with the prayer that for you, now and forever, the day breaks and the shadows flee away. It was Homer who suggested all strangers and beggars are from Zeus, and a gift, though small, is precious. This is an excerpt from the book Angels We Have Heard on High by Joan Webster Anderson, published in 1997 by Ballantine. Anderson writes, and I quote, "The cold rain had gone on since morning, keeping Bob Nance from his construction job and increasing his worry over finances. A lost day's pay was hard to make up. His family was getting low on groceries, and with Christmas coming, he paced back and forth in his little house as his wife and mother-in-law fixed dinner in the kitchen, and his 3 children played nearby. What if the deluge continued through tomorrow? "Dinner's ready," Bob's wife called. Everyone headed for the table. Just then, Bob heard a knock on the front door. Who could be out in the storm? He opened it just a crack to keep the cold air from coming in. On the porch stood a man about 50 years old, wearing a black suit, top coat, and hat. Water ran down from the hat's brim and dropped onto the man's already saturated coat. His shoes were sodden. "How can I help you?" Bob asked. Despite his rumpled appearance, the stranger smiled. End quote. What the stranger told him was that he was told to stop by and talk with him. Again, Anderson writes, was the man a crackpot? Surely you shouldn't invite him to stay. And yet, there was something about him. End quote. So the stranger was invited in and out of the rain. The oldest child took the stranger's hat to the kitchen so that it could dry by the stove. His soaking coat was placed over the back of a chair to dry as well. Again, from the story, and I quote, "The family made room for their unexpected visitor at the dinner table and shared their modest meal with him. Conversation flowed freely and pleasantly." End quote. They talked about many things over the dinner table, but very little about the stranger himself. But throughout the dinner, as Joan Webster Anderson writes, Bob felt his worries gently lifted from his shoulders. Things would get better, he knew. As the meal ended, the visitor got up. "Thank you all for this wonderful dinner," he smiled. "I'll have to be moving on now." Young Dan brought back the stranger's hat, still quite wet, and gave it to him. Bob picked up the coat lying over the chair and held it as the man slipped it on. The two walked to the door together and shook hands, and the visitor departed into the rain. Bob closed the door, and then the realization hit him. The stranger's coat had been completely dry. But it couldn't have dried in that short time. The floor around the chair was still slippery with puddles. Bob flung open the front door. Although he had a clear view of his entire street and the stranger had only seconds to walk away, no one was there. Slowly, Bob closed the door. "I think we just fed an angel," he told his wife. And the blessings the angel brought would last, he knew, not just for Christmas, but all year long. The words of Joan Webster Anderson. An old saying reminds us to entertain strangers, because sometimes the stranger just might be an angel. Once upon a time, there was a child ready to be born. So one day, she asked God, "They tell me you are sending me to Earth tomorrow, but how am I going to live there being so small and helpless? Among the many angels, I chose one for you. She will be waiting for you and will take care of you. But tell me, here in heaven, I don't do anything else but sing and smile, and that's enough for me to be happy." To which God replied, "Your angel will sing for you and will also smile for you every day, and you will feel your angel's love and be happy. How am I going to be able to understand when people talk to me if I don't know the language that men talk? Your angel will tell you the most beautiful and sweet words you will ever hear, and with much patience and care, your angel will teach you how to speak. What am I going to do when I want to talk to you?" God replied, "Your angel will place your hands together and teach you how to pray. I've heard that on earth there are many bad men. Who will protect me?" God answered, "Your angel will defend you, even if it means risking its life. But I will always be sad because I will not see you anymore. Your angel will always talk to you about me and will teach you the way for you to come back to me, even though I will always be next to you." At that moment, there was much peace in heaven, but voices from earth could already be heard. And the child, in a hurry, asked softly, "Oh God, if I'm about to leave now, please tell me my angel's name." God replied, "Your angel's name is of no importance. You will call your angel Mummy." Appropriate, don't you think, for those gathering around a little child in a stable in Bethlehem? Every year, we try to buy a new ornament for our tree. Some years back, I was walking through a store and found an ornamental scene based on the film It's a Wonderful Life. It says on the back of the wintry scene set in front of Bailey's building and loan, and a sign that welcomes you to Bedford Falls. And I quote, "It's a Wonderful Life brings its renewing message to the hearts of millions at Christmas time each year. George Bailey's guardian angel gives him and us a poignant reminder of what a difference each of us makes, and that many wishes and dreams do come true in this wonderful life." End quote. I started this program with an excerpt from the original story, and I thought it appropriate to end this program on the same note. When George realizes what his town would have been like had he not been born, Clarence gives him back his life and ends the nightmare. It's Clarence who's speaking, and I quote, "However, since it's Christmas Eve, close your eyes and listen to the bells." George did as he was told. A cold, wet snowdrop touched his cheek, and then another. When he opened his eyes, the snow was falling fast. The little stranger could not be seen. Good night, sweet dreams. I'm Don Jackson.